What if I told you that Isaac Newton, the same man who discovered gravity, spent more time studying ancient consciousness technologies than he did on physics? What if the greatest scientific mind in history was actually an alchemist who believed he'd found the secret to transforming human consciousness? Today, we're diving into Newton's secret manuscripts, hidden for 200 years, that reveal mind-bending practices he believed could literally transmute the human soul. And yes, we're talking about the Philosopher's Stone, but not the way you think. Picture this. It's 1690. While the world knows Newton as the genius who explained the cosmos, behind locked doors in his Cambridge laboratory, he's conducting experiments that would make modern scientists' heads explode. Newton wrote over 1 million words on alchemy. That's 10 times more than he wrote on physics. Let that sink in. The man who gave us calculus was obsessed with something much deeper than equations. Here's what they don't teach you in school. Newton believed the universe was alive, not metaphorically, literally alive. A breathing, conscious organism that could be communicated with through specific practices. And get this, when Newton's secret papers were finally auctioned in 1936, the economist John Maynard Keynes bought them and was shocked. He later said, Newton was not the first of the age of reason. He was the last of the magicians. Now, everyone thinks the Philosopher's Stone was about turning lead into gold. Wrong. Dead wrong. Newton's manuscripts reveal something mind-blowing. He wrote, "The true transformation is not of metals, but of the operator himself." While we can't know exactly what Newton experienced, his writings suggest he believed the stone was a consciousness technology, a method for accelerating human evolution. In his secret text Praxis, Newton describes meditation techniques involving specific breathing patterns while visualizing geometric forms. Sound familiar? It's basically ancient breathwork combined with sacred geometry, practices that modern neuroscience shows can actually alter brainwave states. Newton wrote about the vegetable spirit, what he believed was a living force permeating all matter. He thought this force could be concentrated and directed through the human nervous system. Today, we might call this prana, chi, or bioelectricity. Here's where it gets wild. Newton believed the pineal gland, yes, the third eye, was the seat of the soul and the laboratory where this transformation happened. He wrote extensive notes on how certain practices could open the gates of internal vision. Newton was obsessed with the Emerald Tablet, that cryptic ancient text that says, "As above, so below." But here's what most people miss. Newton made his own translation, and it's radically different from others. In Newton's version, he emphasizes the one mind that creates all things through meditation. He believed this wasn't poetry, it was an instruction manual. Newton kept a secret journal where he recorded his spiritual experiences. In one entry from 1675, he describes achieving states where the boundaries between self and cosmos dissolved. Classic unity consciousness. He developed what he called the 12 keys, a consciousness protocol combining specific times of day aligned with planetary positions, breathing techniques synchronized with visualizations, what he called fixing the volatile, essentially stabilizing altered states. Think about it. The man who discovered the laws of motion was trying to discover the laws of consciousness transformation. Here's something that'll blow your mind. Newton's laboratory notes show he was experimenting with what we'd now recognize as sensory deprivation and extended meditation. He would seal himself in a completely dark room for days, practicing what he called the work of the solitary philosopher. His notes describe experiencing visions of geometric patterns, sound like DMT experiences, communication with what he called intelligences, downloads of mathematical insights. While we can't verify these experiences, what's fascinating is how they mirror modern accounts of deep meditation and plant medicine journeys. Newton believed these practices were activating what he called the Luciferic element, not the devil, but the light bearer, the awakened consciousness within. He wrote, "This art is the ladder of Jacob, whereon the philosophers ascend to heaven." Ready for the biggest revelation? Newton's discovery of gravity might have come from his consciousness experiments. In his alchemical texts, Newton describes gravity not as a force, but as a form of cosmic sympathy, a love between objects. He wrote, "Gravity is the soul of the world." Newton admitted he got the idea for universal gravitation from the ancient Hermetic principle that all things are connected by invisible bonds. His physics was literally inspired by his mystical practices. He believed that just as planets are held in orbit by invisible forces, human consciousness is connected to cosmic consciousness by similar sympathies. His meditation practices were designed to strengthen these connections. In one manuscript, he describes a technique where you visualize yourself as the sun, feeling your gravitational pull on all things. Modern heart coherence practices. Anyone? So why don't we know about this? Simple. Newton's followers were terrified. After his death, the Royal Society literally tried to bury these manuscripts. They were embarrassed that their hero was into what they saw as occult nonsense. But here's the thing. Newton didn't see any contradiction. To him, science and spirituality were the same quest. He wrote, "God is not a distant clockmaker, but the very life force animating all existence." Some researchers believe Newton achieved what yogis call Kundalini awakening. His descriptions of serpentine fires rising through the spine and the opening of inner sight match classical Kundalini symptoms. So what can we actually use from Newton's practices? Here are 3 techniques adapted from his manuscripts. 1. The Philosopher's Breath. Newton described breathing in a 4-7-8 pattern while visualizing golden light entering the pineal gland. Modern science shows this activates the parasympathetic nervous system and increases DMT production. 2. The Geometric Meditation. Visualize a golden triangle in your third eye area while contemplating the unity of all things. Newton did this for hours, believing it activated dormant brain centers. 3. The Sympathy Practice. Before sleep, Newton would lie still and imagine invisible threads connecting him to the cosmos, feeling the same force that moves planets moving through him. These practices are strikingly similar to techniques used in modern consciousness research at places like the Monroe Institute. Here's what Newton really discovered. The same laws that govern the universe govern consciousness. As above, so below wasn't just a saying, it was the operating system of reality. Newton's real philosopher's stone wasn't a physical object. It was the realization that human consciousness can be transformed through specific practices, that we're not separate from the cosmos but active participants in its evolution. His hidden message? The greatest discoveries aren't out there in space. They're in here, in the laboratory of your own consciousness. The same mind that gave us modern physics was telling us, you are not just an observer of the universe. You are the universe observing itself. And with the right practices, you can awaken to that reality. So the next time someone tells you spirituality and science don't mix, remember? The greatest scientist in history spent his life proving they're the same thing. The real question is, are you ready to start your own experiments?